A recent WB job posting appears to indicate Hogwarts Legacy could be a live service game, and the internet is freaking out. I'll get you caught up on the news, why I actually think it could be a good thing, and what even is a live service game. All that and more in today's Hogwarts Legacy video. People of the internet, RetroRaconteur here. If we're meeting for the first time, I'm just a dad who loves games and the stories they tell. We post videos every week here on YouTube, and if you, like me, are looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy, then be sure and give this video a like before you go. It helps me know you guys are enjoying the Hogwarts Legacy content and want to see even more of it. Today's video is broken down into 4 different sections. We'll start by talking about WB's focus on live service games and why Hogwarts Legacy could be a part of that push, how we should define live service games, what the concerns would be for Hogwarts Legacy, and then finally, I'll give you a few ideas I have for how Hogwarts Legacy can be an absolutely phenomenal live service title. I'll include timestamps for each of these different sections, and you can also use the chapter markers in the timeline if you're just interested in a specific section of the video. To start off, why are we even talking about Hogwarts Legacy as a live service game? Well, back in late January, there was a job posting on WB's career site for a virtual games production MBA intern for the summer of 2021. And at the time of recording this video, the ad actually is still available online. So if you do want to read it for yourself, you can do that at this time. I'll post a link down in the description. Of course, I'll also include screenshots here in the video to any important sections that we need to discuss. To be honest with you guys, there's a lot here in this job posting for us to break down. Here's the first bit that stands out to me. The WBIE, which stands for Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, production summer intern will have the opportunity to learn about the way a game publisher evaluates new game opportunities, remember that, by working closely with the executive producer. WBIE is currently involved in a variety of new projects, ranging from casual games to core games featuring our well-known franchises on all platforms, console, digital, mobile, with a heavy focus on live service. So there you go. That is what tipped a lot of folks off and has everyone asking, hey, does this apply to Hogwarts Legacy? And if so, what does that mean for the story? This was supposed to be a single-player story game. What's going on here? Now, if you just looked at that alone, you might think, well, hey, Hogwarts Legacy is delayed until 2022. It's probably not included in this, considering this position is for an internship during the summer of 2021. Well, let's keep reading from the listing so we can see a little more about what this intern will be doing. So some of the tasks for the intern will include drive competitive research, teardowns, genre analysis, and benchmarks of external games and market trends to support project greenlights and translate best practices into actionable product strategies. And then it goes on to say participate in initial developer diligence meetings, assistance in setting up demos on a variety of different hardware, playthroughs of various game demos, write-ups on game demos, both from a gameplay and market opportunity perspective. So it seems pretty clear to me that this job is going to be heavily focused on gathering information and conducting research on what maybe other companies are doing and even helping setting up demos. So to me, all of this speaks to planning, something that is not ready for release right now, but how can we maybe add live service elements to what we've got? So what other games could WB possibly be talking about here? We know they mentioned, quote, well-known franchises. And if you look at the titles they're releasing this year, I would say 2 of them fall into that category. There's Lego Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga, Back 4 Blood, and Gotham Knights. Now, Back 4 Blood looks promising, but it would be a stretch to call it a well-known franchise since it's brand new. Both Star Wars and Gotham Knights, though, absolutely, they certainly fit the bill. That being said, when it comes to live service, the LEGO Star Wars games are well-known quantities at this point. They have a tried and true formula that works. So it would be pretty strange to me if we saw them add some sort of live service component there with a LEGO game. It's possible, but it would just surprise me. Of those 3 that I just mentioned, I think Gotham Knights is clearly the most likely title to receive strong support after launch with live service elements. But would this job posting really only focus on one live service title? The listing clearly indicates more than just one. So in that case, I think we have to look at Hogwarts Legacy as well as the 2022 Suicide Squad game as other potential candidates. Now, it's entirely possible Hogwarts Legacy isn't part of the live service push at all, but with it already getting a lengthy delay to 2022 and WB seemingly placing a focus on live service, I think it's safe to say that it will indeed happen. And I actually think it could be a good thing. Of course, I always want to hear from you guys, and today I'd love to know if there are any games you play regularly that you would consider to be a live service game. Let me know down in the comments. I also think it's helpful if we can try to define what WB considers to be a live service game. This isn't a brand new term, but I do feel like it's one we're seeing more of lately, and there's still a lot of confusion as to what people actually mean when they're saying live service. I will say that for me personally, whenever I think of live service, I think of something like Destiny, World of Warcraft, or even Fortnite. These are titles that consistently release new content and regular updates to their game. It just so happens that all three are also heavily focused on multiplayer with various cooperative and competitive elements. In fact, in my mind, I've always thought of live service games as being titles that focus primarily on multiplayer, but that doesn't always have to be the case. There actually is a Wikipedia entry for games as a service, and here's how they define it there. In the video game industry, games as a service represents providing video games or game content on a continuing revenue model similar to software as a service. Games as a service are ways to monetize video games either after their initial sale or to support a free-to-play model. Games released under the games as a service model typically receive a long or indefinite stream of monetized new content over time to encourage players to continue paying to support the game. So nothing specifically about multiplayer there, but the focus is instead on an indefinite stream of monetized new content. I would personally even make the argument that the new content doesn't always have to be monetized. You can look at something like Animal Crossing New Horizons, which has provided free updates for the entire first year of the game's release, and it remains to be seen what's going to happen after that first year. They might start doing paid DLC, they could continue to do free updates, we just don't know yet. Now, overall, that definition may sound fine, but we as gamers have been burned too many times by titles sporting this model. Take this Reddit post, for example, which defines live service games as being the, quote, promise of a barely functional game being sold as a AAA masterpiece that aims to nickel and dime users for several years. So there are absolutely concerns when it comes to this model. I posted a poll here on YouTube for you guys asking, can Hogwarts Legacy work as a live service game? 30% of you said yes, there's potential. 54% said maybe, but I'd prefer not. And only 16% outright said no. Now, I know most of us are looking forward to the story of Hogwarts Legacy and exploring the world perhaps more than just about anything else in the game, which means there are fears that parts of the game could be intentionally held back for future DLC, or we may see microtransactions for highly sought-after items. The biggest fear, by far, as I've seen so many times in the comments on the videos here, is that the game releases in a poor or even outright broken state. I'm not going to compare it to that game. Releasing games as live service can sometimes trap developers into a never-ending cycle of trying to fix a broken game to catch up with the fan expectations, or even giving publishers the green light to release a broken game, because in the back of their minds they know, hey, this is going to sell well on name recognition alone, we can just follow it up with the promise of better things in the future. One of my most played titles ever is the original Destiny, which released in a state that many found frustrating and even unacceptable. I'm looking at you, purple engrams decrypting into blues. To Bungie's credit, they would eventually turn Destiny into an incredibly fun title with a passionate fan base. And yet, now they find themselves on shaky ground once again with Destiny 2. So we know there are concerns, but how does Hogwarts Legacy avoid those and deliver an incredible game that can still work as live service and keep the fans not only tolerant of it, but happy and excited about the live service options? For one, they should focus on fulfilling their initial promise to fans, and that was to make a story-driven action RPG set in the Wizarding world. This has got to be at the forefront, guys. This needs to be number one. If anyone from Avalanche hears this, you guys have to keep that at the top of the priority list. Now, when it comes to the live service component, guys, the reason that I am excited and actually a little bit optimistic about this is that this means Hogwarts Legacy could potentially be a game that lives on for months and even years if it's properly supported. All right, so stick with me, guys. Imagine a post-launch DLC that saw our character journey to other wizarding schools or doing a summer internship at the Ministry of Magic. Seriously, like, that one has me so excited. Could you imagine if you finish up your first year or whatever, fifth year, whenever we're starting at Hogwarts, and then maybe you meet a contact along the story journey where they work at the Ministry, you want to train to be an R, and you get to go on all sorts of these adventures from the Ministry of Magic as your kind of hub. Yes, sign me up. I will pay for that DLC. Make it happen, Avalanche. Personally, I'm expecting the main Hogwarts Legacy game to take place over the span of one school year, but how great would it be if we got to go on new adventures and quests with them throughout the summer? Maybe we travel the world with one of our favorite professors over the summer to study magical creatures from other countries, or go hunting for obscure magical artifacts. Maybe all of the above. One other area of the wizarding world that seems like it's just made for live service would have to be Quidditch. It's something so many fans have asked for, and I think it would work very well with a live service model. Imagine all the different broom customization options and different equipment you could have on your player. There could be time trials, seasons, and all sorts of different challenges built around Quidditch. Personally, I like the idea of the added content sticking with our character from the main game, but if they wanted to branch out even further, they could always do a DLC around the Triwizard Tournament. It's an event in Wizarding World history that is perfect for a video game. Unfortunately, the timeline just doesn't match up with the late 1800s of the Hogwarts Legacy story. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I could go on and on with ideas for how Hogwarts Legacy could absolutely nail the live service experience, but now I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see, and if you're new here, be sure and check out our full Hogwarts Legacy playlist on the right side of your screen. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.